The line was buried inside a cracked clay fragment sitting unnoticed in the archives of the British Museum. Catalogued simply as K6174, one among thousands of ancient Mesopotamian records no one expected to matter. But carved into its surface was a statement so strange, so disturbingly precise, that it still unsettles researchers who study it today. The heavens are not endless. The heavens are enclosed. They rise like a constructed barrier above the world. And beyond that barrier, something waits. The fragment originated from the ruined libraries of Nineveh, uncovered during 19th century excavations and transported to London packed among countless other tablets, tax records, trade accounts, legal disputes, temple inventories. Nothing about K6174 initially appeared extraordinary. Archivists labeled it as an ordinary astronomical text and moved on. For more than 100 years, almost nobody examined it in detail. That changed in 2009. While comparing ancient Mesopotamian star records against modern astronomical calculations, researcher Dr. James Whitford at the Royal Observatory in Edinburgh reportedly became interested in the unusual density of the cuneiform covering the tablet's surface. The symbols were compressed tightly together, far more intensely than most surviving sky texts from the same era. Imaging scans later suggested the inscription had been carved continuously by one scribe in a single uninterrupted sitting, as if the writer considered every line critically important and refused to stop before completing it. What captured Whitford's attention was not mythology, it was measurement. The text describes the sky not as empty space, but as a literal structure, a vault with dimensions. And then it assigns that structure a numerical height using an ancient Mesopotamian distance unit known as the biru. The recorded value, 7,800 biru. When converted into modern measurements, the figure becomes approximately 84,240 kilometers. That number should have been meaningless. A Mesopotamian scribe living around 2400 BCE possessed no telescopes, no satellites, no atmospheric models, no modern mathematics capable of estimating distances beyond the visible horizon. Nothing in conventional history explains how such a civilization could even attempt to calculate a boundary above Earth's atmosphere, yet the number becomes unsettling when compared to modern science. 84,000 kilometers falls unexpectedly close to the outer region of the Van Allen radiation belt, the massive zone where Earth's magnetic field traps high-energy solar particles. That boundary was only identified in 1958 after instruments aboard Explorer 1 transmitted data analyzed by physicist James Van Allen. The difference between the ancient figure and the modern estimate is shockingly small. And that is the detail that continues to make K6174 impossible to comfortably dismiss. The ancient Sumerians placed the upper boundary of the heavens at a distance astonishingly close to a real physical layer surrounding Earth, a region no human eye can see and no ancient civilization should have been capable of detecting. It is not visible from mountains. It cannot be mapped from the ground. Identifying it required satellites, radiation sensors, and 20th century space technology, and yet the number appears carved into clay thousands of years ago. Whitford formally published the conversion in 2011 through the Journal of Ancient Astronomical Studies. The response from academia was strange, not because of outrage, but because of the absence of it. No formal rebuttals, no extensive criticism, no major attempts to expand the work. The paper entered the record and then disappeared into near total silence. But the most disturbing section of the tablet comes after the measurements. Once the text establishes the height of the celestial vault, the language changes abruptly. The careful astronomical calculations give way to something far more unsettling. Beyond the vault, the waters. Beyond the waters, the dwelling of those who observe. They do not sleep. They do not turn away. They number the days of mankind. The beings watching from above are identified by name. In ancient Sumerian texts, they are called the Igigi. The term appears repeatedly across Mesopotamian cuneiform literature and is consistently treated as separate from the Anunnaki. The Anunnaki descend to Earth. The Igigi remain above. Every surviving description places them in the same role, stationed somewhere beyond the heavens, fixed in position, permanently observing, not wandering, not traveling, stationed. The tablet then provides 3 separate coordinates for where this station exists. Two are stellar references tied to fixed star positions that Whitford later compared against modern astronomical charts. According to his reconstruction, both references point toward a narrow region aligned along the axis between Earth and the Sun. The third coordinate is a distance measurement written again in Biru. Converted into modern units, the figure becomes roughly 1.48 million kilometers from Earth. Beyond that outer boundary, according to the ancient texts, exists the realm of the Devas, entities described not as wandering spirits, but as beings positioned permanently beyond the shell of the world, observing humanity from above. The Brahmanda Purana assigns an actual numerical measurement to this cosmic boundary using the ancient Yojana system. When modern researchers convert the value into present-day units, the distance reportedly falls surprisingly close to the outer edge of the Van Allen radiation belt. That is where the pattern becomes difficult to ignore. Four entirely separate civilizations, four independent traditions separated by geography, language, religion, and centuries of history. Yet all describe the same underlying structure, a measurable barrier surrounding Earth, entities stationed above it in a fixed location, and a purpose centered not on worship or intervention, but surveillance and record-keeping. The language carved into K6174 becomes even stranger as the text continues. The watchers are described physically, almost clinically. Their faces shine like polished metal. Their eyes never close. Their voices are not heard through the ears, but felt deep inside the body itself. Their coverings reflect light like water beneath the midday sun. The wording does not resemble mythology or ritual prayer. It reads more like observation notes written by someone attempting to describe something directly witnessed. The scribe never praises the beings. He never worships them. He never asks them for mercy. Instead, he catalogues them. According to the tablet, these watchers maintain what is called the Great Record, an enormous archive documenting the rise and collapse of human civilizations across vast stretches of time. When the flood came, they did not interfere. They observed and recorded. When the empire of collapse of the Akkadian Empire unraveled, they again remained distant. They watched, they documented. The most unsettling detail may be the specific word used to describe their role. The same Sumerian term appears elsewhere in ordinary administrative tablets, referring to temple archivists and record keepers. The entities above the heavens are not portrayed as kings, warriors, or creators. They are librarians. In 1876, archaeologist George Smith was excavating additional tablets from the ruined libraries of Nineveh when he reportedly uncovered material containing astronomical descriptions far beyond what historians believed ancient civilizations could possess. According to later references to his private notes, Smith considered portions of the texts deeply anomalous. 6 months later, he died unexpectedly in Aleppo at only 36 years old. His personal journals were returned separately to London. Archive intake records reportedly indicate that 7 notebooks arrived with the shipment. Only 4 were officially processed into storage. 3 others were allegedly removed into a private office by a senior museum official and never publicly catalogued again. Later, institutional records described them simply as lost in transit. One detail survived. A shipping clerk involved in processing the material wrote a letter to his sister in 1879 mentioning inconsistencies surrounding the missing journals. The letter still exists, the journals do not. As for K6174 itself, researchers claim the tablet remains in restricted archive storage with access requiring formal institutional approval. According to several independent investigators who attempted to request examination access between 2012 and 2023, those requests were reportedly denied without detailed explanation. No complete critical publication of the tablet exists publicly. No ultra-high-resolution imaging has ever been released in open academic databases, and Whitford's 2011 analysis received something perhaps stranger than criticism: nothing. No formal rebuttal, no correction, no major academic dispute. Just silence. And according to some researchers, that silence may be the most revealing part of the entire story. Sometimes information does not need to be censored to disappear. It only needs to be ignored. In 2015, NASA placed the Deep Space Climate Observatory at the Lagrange point, known as L1, nearly 1.5 million kilometers from Earth, directly between our planet and the Sun. Its mission: monitor solar activity, while constantly facing Earth. Years later, the James Webb Space Telescope was positioned at L2 on the opposite side of Earth, staring outward into deep space. One watches Earth, one watches the universe beyond it, and both now sit precisely along the same celestial axis. Ancient Sumerian texts described thousands of years ago as the station of the watchers. The strange part is this: no mission was ever designed to search those regions for objects already there. The positions are used because they are gravitationally stable, exactly as the ancient tablets described them, places where forces remain still. The final lines of K6174 are damaged, but one passage survived. They have always watched from above. They record, they remain silent, and when the record is complete, they descend. The last intact sentence was reportedly excluded from an early museum catalogue translation. It reads, "We are the cattle of the silent ones." Today, K6174 allegedly remains sealed away in archive storage at the British Museum. A small clay tablet, physically unremarkable, hidden among thousands of others. And if the watchers were ever real, the ancient texts suggest they never needed to hide from humanity. They only needed humanity to stop looking.